get above 20 points tonight. It's going to be their running
Wow.
backs they're like to their third string running back.
So that's what they're okay. So
They
you might
their
go.
running backs are the starting running back is hurt. He's out, collarbone broken. The second string is in the portal, and then the third string I don't even know who.
Well, that might be a good way to hedge the AQST bet with Indiana. We're
It's
gonna
just
try to keep this 30 minutes so
yeah,
the
let's go.
legendary biotech scanner can watch the game. And actually, I'm a fan of college football, just not this year. So I'll watch it. I'll watch it this year just because I'm sick. Look, we're not these faceless bashers that go in hiding when the thing they're bashing gets approved and jump to another board. We're stuck with this thing just like you guys are. And we both have a thesis. They're pretty similar, if not identical. But I bought a little more today. Not gonna lie and say I was not concerned. It's not news you want to get. uh, but this is biotech investing. I mean, if you're not ready for this, crypto has at least taught me to stomach this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And this would be like a small drop in crypto. No, this would be a decent one actually, but it recovered a little. It towards the end, but we'll see tomorrow how it
The
does. Or
well,
Monday. My bad.
yeah, it's yeah, you and I just talked about this. Yeah, and I told you that life has taught me that nothing's easy, especially investing in biotech. And I was about to tweet this out today, saying, "Do not let your kid grow up to be biotech investors."
I think it's better to be a technology investor or
Yeah.
really anything.
So I mean, you know,
Why do we do it then? I mean, it's like I feel like we think we have some alpha. I mean, you've done well. I I
the
think I'm doing okay, but yeah, there are easier things like we can just buy Amazon and
yeah,
Meta.
and have the most boring life possibly. But I know it's to me investing in biotech is so rewarding for me because it is what I love to do on my free time. Is to read science, to read biology, to read about drugs, what's the next best things and things like that. So I'm like, I'm getting paid doing this. This is awesome. But I've learned throughout that every journey there's bumps in the road, and this is
Yeah.
a bump in the road. I mean, again, I keep bringing up the journey of the spry investor in ARS Pharma. It dropped 57% when CRL came out,
Hmm.
and within less than 4 months, it went back to the same price, a little bit higher than the price of the day prior. So it's September 19th, 2023, the price was 660. The next day, it dropped down to 255, but recovered a little bit and ended up at 292. And then 4 months later, it got to 677 or something like that, right?
Hmm.
And then several months later, I tweeted all the chronological order. Then it went back to 1088 at approval. And then 3 months or 4 months later, it went up to 1850 and settled at 1749. So let me ask you this. If you were to sell on the CRL news, all right, and
Oof.
take that 57% loss, all right?
Oof. So a lot of people probably did.
So so what stock out there, because you would have to make 120% something like that to recover that 57% loss.
You got to bet on Oregon against Indiana.
You so what stock out there right, can recover that loss, and then within what, 4 months, because 4 months later it went back to the same price. That's 120 days. All right. So what stock out there do you think can recover that loss that quickly, rather than just staying put?
Yeah.
And then another 9 months, you get like 380% increase.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's get into our thesis because I know you have one. I have one. I haven't really heard of your full one. You haven't heard mine. But I have a funny story. Yesterday, I went to go visit a doctor of ours that we work with, a respiratory. He's a pulmonologist. He owns AQST. Of course, he was freaking out this morning. But my nurse practitioner buddy came with me, and he heard us talking. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy some, but the market's closed. I'll do it tomorrow." That dude got lucky, man,
Oh
because he
my goodness.
so I asked him, "Did you buy?" He's like, "What happened?" I gave him the article, like the research I was
Yeah.
doing, and
Yeah.
he bought some. So he's there's
Oh
new
my
people.
goodness.
There
That's
are new
awesome.
people coming into this because it is more of an attractive play at this point.
Well, yes. And I today, ironically, it's funny that when one of the tickers I call like jumps, I get a bunch of new followers. Today, I got a 27 or 28 new followers today with this
Yeah,
drop.
yeah.
And I'm like, are you sure you want to follow me?
People want to know, man. It's like that's the difference between us and the shorts bashers that they're anonymous. Like we'll come
Yeah.
out on a bad day.
Yep.
We'll come out on a good day too and rub it in your face. Don't worry. But
Yep.
we'll be here on the bad days. So let's go biotech with like your what do you think's happening? What do you think is the next steps? And then I'll get into mine. I wrote an article earlier, but I found a little more that I can add. But
Yeah.
it's all speculation, anyways.
So basically, the FDA sent Aquestive Therapeutics a letter saying, "Hey, we found some deficiencies in the NDA, but at this time, uh, and because of that, we're not going to talk to you about labeling yet. However, we are not going to send you a disciplinary review letter, which is a more formal communication of saying, hey, um, we found some serious stuff, and that more than likely you're going to get a CRL, you know. And that is the typical path. But the interesting thing to me is the FDA went out of their way to say, hey, but we found deficiencies, but we are not sending you a disciplinary review letter. And that everything is still on schedule and ongoing with your NDA review.
Right.
And so I found that very bullish. Um, I feel like with every NDA, there's always something. Okay, always something. No NDA is perfect. Okay, so they found something, and so in that letter, they did not spell out what the deficiencies are. That's why the company did not communicate those to us.
Hmm.
Okay, so we can only speculate now. Anything is still very speculative now. Okay, but what my thinking is, all right, the FDA is saying that we found deficiencies. Let's talk about them. They're not listed in the letter. And let's see what plans you have to address these deficiencies before we send you a disciplinary review letter or something to that effect, and then ultimately a CRL. And so I think by the FDA giving the company and itself some wiggle room, that they feel like it's something that could be worked out before PDUFA date of January 31st. Now, that being said, it could be that the company, I'm sure, reached out to the FDA like immediately, and that they probably have plans to meet. And it may be that the things that they need to do will require more time than January 31st. So the FDA will may announce, hey, we have moved the PDUFA date to like 3 months later to like April or May, okay? April 31st, 2026, something like that. Um, or worst case scenario, the company looks at the deficiency and saying, um, it's going to require an additional clinical trial, you know.
Yeah.
So go ahead and give us a CRL and let's get to work. What do you need? Right?
Yeah.
So that is the worst case scenario, Dan and investors. But again, I'm telling you right now, the 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 path that NFL has gotten to this far, improving its efficacy in all these trials, it works so good. And the fact is that it's the most convenient epinephrine treatment on the market. It could change the way that people carry the drug with them, which is the biggest problem, the biggest issue. There is no way the FDA is gonna not gonna do everything they can to help the company, and but the company has to help itself. That they're gonna work together to bring it to the market because ultimately it's the FDA wants to approve this. They want to work with the company. So keep that in mind as investors. That if you look at Neffy, it got a CRL. You know, it didn't even get a warning. You know, so and then they ultimately worked on it and get it approved.
Yeah.
Same thing here, but I feel like the FDA is even more motivated to get NFM to market than Neffy was.
Yeah. This doesn't feel like a hostile letter. So the fact that here's what I think is happening. Okay, I think it's the manufacturing deficiency. So this was discovered last year. They got a 483, which is with a voluntary action indicated. It's not the warning letter that a lot of the shorts were saying they got a warning letter. It's not a warning letter. It's a voluntary action indicated. The most common finding, by the way, in a manufacturing plant audit is findings that are not critical. So the FDA, if you audit any research site manufacturing, you're gonna have findings,
Yep.
right? But there's a difference between findings that warrant a warning letter versus findings that warrant you're gonna correct it, and with a capital plan, usually corrective action, preventative action, it's called, you're gonna be okay. So most likely what happened 3 weeks before all the efficacy, safety, clinical, those are done.
Yep.
The FDA is not gonna discover something fundamental, especially on a fast track.
Yep.
Right? Like this would be too late. These would have came out months ago. So the fact that they said does not reflect a final decision, I think is telling because they didn't have to put that in there. And
Nope.
if they're legally bound to wait till January 31st for PDUFA, they wouldn't have put that in there. They wouldn't that language is deliberate. It means there's genuine uncertainty about something that is cross uh cross it's more of a holistic issue because a discipline review letter is more about a specific thing. Like this in under this discipline vertical, we found this is the issue. They don't it seems like they don't have any of those. Okay, so the manufacturing thesis, in my opinion, fits best. Some CMC observation was made. It was on that form 483. It's behind a paywall,
Yep.
but they got a voluntary action. AQST thought they addressed it. I'm a research site owner. We don't do manufacturing, but like we get audited by FDA, and we'll address their findings. So we thought we addressed it. AQST thought they addressed it, and in the late stage review, which was just recently,
Yep.
the FDA reviewer determined the response was insufficient.
Yep.
For example, and then I'm just pulling it out of my ass, but like your stability data shows X, but we need confirmation of Y before we can approve this 24-month shelf life. So it could be something like that. And the fact that it's precluding label discussions kind of fits that narrative the best. Now, could it be that they didn't like the vomiting? Like, could they have gotten scared from the citizens' petition? I mean, they would have probably had the AdCom at that point if they were.
Right.
So I think the manufacturing thesis, in my opinion, fits best. I don't see another outcome other than they can file a 3-month extension, or they can get a CRL and then fix the issue within 6 to 9 months, 9 to 12 months, depend if they want another study. I don't know what those manufacturing issues were, but they were not bad enough to get a warning letter, which shows us that they're routine. But the FDA wants to make sure, especially if they're talking over the counter so loosely,
Yeah.
you want to make sure the manufacturing is fully compliant, right? Like no questions about shelf life or anything like that. The very worst bear case, which I don't think, is that the film itself is flawed somehow.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
like the vomiting you'll just spit it out rather than it kind of getting absorbed sublingually right away. Um, that's maybe it comes with some warning label, but I really think this is a manufacturing issue based
yeah.
on like what the timelines of everything.
Right. I mean, they have 2.5 billion film products already manufactured. Patients been using it for years. I don't think it's a film or anything like that.
And didn't Libervant get a CRL for a manufacturing issue too?
They probably, I think they did,
I think they did
but
too.
it's very. I mean, 50% of NDA got CRL because 50% of the CRL happened because of manufacturing CMC.
And Libervant's on the
Yeah,
market. There's a different issue with it, but it's on the market.
yeah, and it's approved. So
Hmm.
what I'm saying is, um, you know, I'm very optimistic. I'm always optimistic. But what I'm saying to you is, we are only speculating now. I am very optimistic still, but I want you to, I have prepared myself, my mind, for the worst case scenario, which is a CRL. But even with a CRL, I have something to help me navigate when that happens. And what is that? That is why I tweeted out the share price day by day with Sprite. What happened the day before CRL? What happened on CRL day? What happened on approved day? What happened 3 months later or 4 months later? I mean, you go from 292 on September 20th, 2023, okay, to 1851 on November 11, 2024. Okay. So find me a stock out there they could make that kind of move within
Okay,
that span
so
of time.
but let's go through these three scenarios, okay? And you give me your probability percentage. Okay.
Okay.
Scenario A, B, C. Scenario A, AQST submits a major amendment extending the review by 3 months. What? Just play
That
fantasy stocks here.
um that is a very likely probability. I think it's at least 50% or more.
Okay.
All right. So what am I saying to you? I'm saying to you that PDUFA on January 31st is unlikely. Um, and but best case scenario is they get it worked out. They after talking to the FDA after this letter, they found the deficiencies, and the FDA likes or satisfied with the plan of action or corrective action plan, that
Yeah.
they go ahead and approve then after that they talk labeling, and then they talk about post-marketing commitment. So meaning that Aquestive will do some maybe additional clinical trial after approval, after MFM is already on the market. That's the best case scenario. That to me is about it's definitely about what, mm, 40, 30%, 30%.
Okay.
Okay. But there's a delay. It's 3 months delay. I think 50, another 20% would be CRL. CRL, I think there's a low chance of CRL. And if we do get one, I, I think it's just an opportunity to add.
So scenario A is the major amendment extending the review by 3 months. Scenario B, FDA issues a CRL with a specific fix it list. I think it's a class 2, which is not as bad as a class 1. Requiring 6 to 9 months of additional data, maybe. And then scenario C, which is a miracle approval on January 31st,
Yep.
which is awesome.
And especially if it's about manufacturing and they have a concrete corrective action plan submitted to the FDA, and the FDA reviewed it, and it's like, okay, we're good with that, right? And then they would announce that, and then we're good to go.
This is why I'm hoping it's a shelf life thing because they don't need another study for that. They just pull up more numbers from the quality control. On the CMC is the manufacturing and the control, the last two letters. So the manufacturing and the control, they are able to run the stats and see, okay, for the shelf life, do you have the consistency of the product? Is it going to be the same every batch? Or some batches going to be different? There's CGMP nerds. They call it good manufacturing practices. That's
Yeah,
not me. I'm in
yeah,
GCP, good clinical practice.
yeah.
But I have colleagues who are in the GMP space, and they're like just nerds when it comes to this kind of stuff. But that's, I think, the best case scenario for us. The best case would have been this wouldn't have happened. There's no issue. So
Yeah.
I think somebody got fired, maybe, or maybe not. Maybe they didn't address they addressed the voluntary action, it sounds like, and then the FDA was still had questions. So they didn't address it
I so
adequately.
I- so if the deficiencies, I believe it's got something to do with manufacturing. To me, that's the highest probability, and I think you're on that boat. Um, and I think it's going to be resolved.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, but again, I'm telling you, I'm preparing for the worst and hoping for the best. Um, right? It's just that is this is why you want to celebrate every minor victory in investing biotech, because I mean random stuff comes out of left field on any given day. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, it's anything could happen. But I feel like it's a deja vu with Sprite all over again because um, I, I, for some reason, I keep bringing up the same the path that Sprite took to get to approval, and I feel like the FDA feel obligated to make us go through that pain, to make it fair. Whereas they should be doing the opposite. They should do everything they can to help AQST to bring this treatment to market because
Yeah.
it's such a game changer, man.
There
It's
is a
such a game
narrative.
changer.
There is one narrative that I don't agree with, but I've seen it floating around that because Neffy is approved, the FDA raised the bar higher for Aquestive. The reason I don't believe that's true is because Aquestive had fast track designation and they were literally, like you said, in every stage planning the trials. They did more trials than they needed.
Yep.
So I don't think they are grading it on a harder curve than Neffy. But to your thesis, they might grade it on the same curve. Like they might ask them to do another bridging study. Perhaps the Oasis didn't bridge the data properly for, or maybe they want like try to induce vomiting and then see what the PK is. If you can
Yeah.
do that ethically, but you can't do it. The problem is ethics become an issue with anaphylaxis shock. You can't get someone to like ethically an anaphylaxis shock. You can get them on mild to moderate oral allergies.
Right.
But if they want moderate to severe, you're bordering on some like blurred line ethics, which I don't think the FDA is gonna want them to do. So it's either gonna be quantitative modeling from the PK data like to bridge it, or 90% I'm convinced it's in the manufacturing side.
Yeah. I think it's manufacturing because if it's clinical, um, it would have been communicated
Yeah,
much sooner,
yeah, yeah.
much sooner than this, because that
And
would
that would have
help.
been a discipline review letter. That would
Yeah,
be an example of because that specific discipline.
yeah,
Hey, we need to know about this particular thing with the vomiting when it's swallowed. I
yeah,
know you did the swallow study, but what happens if it's vomited out? How do
yeah,
we know within seconds? I know we took data at PK data at 2 minutes, but how do we know the data at 30 seconds? How do we
yeah,
know it at 1 minute? And that would have come up in a DRL, in
yeah.
my opinion.
The I reached out to the company and I
Today,
said, "Hey, sorry about what happened today and about that letter."
man, they're not answering you. They're busy.
But I said that I know the FDA didn't reveal what the deficiencies are, but I hope that you would continue. I said, great job communicating that today, but please continue to update investors on additional communications with the FDA to let us know, what are the deficiencies and what are your plans to address those deficiencies and
Yeah,
what are the timeline. Because to me, being a long-term investor, timing is not a problem for me.
yeah.
Because what I take comfort in what seeing what happened with Sprite.
Do you think this goes lower in the next week, or is it time to buy average, like dollar cost average between now and the 31st, or what's the strategy?
I think we hit bottom today.
Oh, you think it's bottom?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think people will realize. I think once people realize and saw what happened to Sprite, and especially if I think the company is going to communicate with us like as soon as they get clarification from the FDA of what the deficiencies are. It's actually pertinent data or information that they have to disclose,
Yeah,
right? So I think by midweek we should get another PR at minimum. Um,
yeah.
And I feel that the people have the right to sell because different investors have different goals and things like that. But if you are a long-term investor, I feel like it's an opportunity to average down.
Yeah.
So, it's do your own research. It's up to you. I can't
Yeah.
make you buy or sell. But I will look for opportunity to add more.
Yeah.
And so, but again, I have already in my mind accept that a CRL is coming, and that, but the thing is it will be worked out, and a film will be approved. And I said this from the beginning. I said, I guarantee you that NFM will be approved even after it received a CRL. And I, why did I say that? It's because I saw exactly what happened with Spry and Netflix. You know,
Hmm.
that's what I base it on. It's solid facts. We actually have something to to guide us, or to look at, or to compare even the
Yeah.
share price day by day.
And I believe Libervent had a similar issue, CMC CRL. Um, and then they got approved after the CRL. So that's
I
when
did,
I got in at that CRL after the first that CRL. That's when I got into AQST.
let me also disclose this. I have not posted this, but I reached out to one of the key opinion leaders in the allergy and immunology doctor that is very well known in the community. She actually has had interviewed Dr. David Golden, who sits on the scientific board of AQST, and I asked her, "What do you think about um, Anafilm's chance? Oh, have you heard of Anafilm, the oral film? And how do you feel about its chances of getting approved by the FDA?" And she actually responded to me on LinkedIn, and she said, "Yes, and I believe it will be approved." So the allergy community is very aware of NFL, and you
Yep.
saw the article today from Snack Safely, uh, that David Bloom. He's a huge allergy advocate, right?
Yeah.
And there's an article that I posted. So the entire community then is just waiting for this to be approved. It's a game changer.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. That's for sure.
there is no way that it's gone this far and hit a bump in the road and not be approved. The FDA wants this to be approved, and they're going to work with the company.
The whole thing about this notification does not reflect the final decision on the pending application, and the FDA's review remains ongoing. To me, that's in a such a small press release says a lot. And like they're giving them the chance.
Yep.
Maybe we can do a 3 month extension. Maybe we're gonna do a soft CRL. Maybe it doesn't require another study. To me, that's the belt, like the bull
Yeah,
case.
I think the fast track communications, the fast track designation allows for more frequent communications. I
Yeah,
believe this FDA would have been honest with a quest of saying, "Hey, for these reasons, we're gonna have to give you a CRL," you know.
yeah.
But they didn't. They did not even want to give them a DRL, you know. And so that's what makes me feel very optimistic about it. I think by midweek next week, we're going to get another PR to give us the detail and the plan, the company's plan to address the concerns. And if there's hint of a delay, I think the company is going to say that too. And they said that today, that there is a chance if there's delay in communication that approval of NFL will be delayed and not happening on January 31st. So they are very transparent about that.
That's why I'm waiting, to be honest, because I know how this market is, and there's a lot of short interest here, and any negative news like today, it's overblown, right?
Yeah,
And I think a CRL, even if it's a soft CRL, no one's gonna look into it with that detail, and it's just gonna be a sell. People already were talking about sell the news when it's approved.
yeah,
Like so, anything, and that's you can't be more positive than that. They're talking about selling. So when you're gonna get a bad news, you're gonna quadruple sell. So I
let
I have money on the sidelines, and if I don't get a chance to get more, that's fine. I'm happy with what I have, but
yeah.
I
Me
have
too.
more on the side just in case.
Well, I've said this before, and this is also my own experience as well. The biggest mistakes and regrets that I have in all the stocks that I have bought,
Yeah,
it's always been on the selling side.
on the selling. Yeah,
On the
yeah.
selling, and some of the biggest, smartest investor, they said the same thing too. It's
But you
on the
know what?
selling side.
With these things, you're always learning something new. It's
Yeah.
evident to me now. I need to learn more about CMC because that's my Achilles heel. With Astaris, my last investment, uh, the Achilles heel was on the sales side. Like that's your expertise. They didn't price it well. It was way too expensive. No differentiation. Every time I learn something new, but CMC is something that, especially if the ones we like to invest in are like manufactured themselves. I think we need to like have some CGMP experts on here and there, like good manufacturing
It's
practice.
yeah, it's such an X factor
Hmm.
that I could bring all of my experience from the industry and give you all the clinical evidence of what to, about the company. But if the company doesn't do their job on the CMC side, there's nothing I can do.
And that's a blind spot,
It
like
is.
we're
It
always
is.
gonna have a blind spot somewhere.
Yep.
And that's, I think, the biggest lesson. But I don't think the blind spots that have impactful because there was no warning letter. So it sounds like they're giving them a chance, or else they would have came out today without that last sentence. Even if they're legally obligated, I'm not an
Yeah.
attorney. If they're legally obligated to wait until the PDUFA date, I
Yeah.
think they're allowed to reject before PDUFA date. I'm sure
Oh
it's
yeah.
happened before,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So uh, it's all speculation, but we came out here to talk because we're not hiding. We're not scared, man. These people, we would love the bashers to come on when this gets approved.
Yeah.
They will never see them.
Yeah. But hang in there, family, Aquesta family. It's not easy. I know it's hard today. Uh,
Yeah.
it's it's very hard for me to tell my wife that hey, Aquesta just dropped.
You
You
told
know.
your wife? I didn't tell my wife shit.
Yeah. So, but she was sad today because she knows how much I have invested in Aquesta. But I told her it's just the timeline just maybe longer.
Yeah.
But it's fine. It's fine.
My wife is used to me investing in crypto, so this is a safe bet for her. I had Penguin, remember? This is
Yes.
safe. This is safe. All right, well, go watch the game, man. I know it started. Sorry for going 10 minutes late. And just everyone connect with Biotech Scanner. Do your own research. Go see, maybe share some shit that you find with us. Like,
Yep.
we're only two
Thank
people.
you for joining us and have a
Take,
great evening, everyone. Thank you.
take it easy, guys. Bye bye.